ABC, Mark over here at Twanger's Turntable, back again. Had a bit of a hiatus, been away for a couple of weeks actually. I believe actually my last video I did was more than 2 weeks ago. I posted one a couple of weeks ago, but I had a couple in the queue, so to speak. Great holidays, had the grandkids here, so spent time with family and doing that kind of stuff. Lots of fun. Having said that, I've been in the peanut gallery periodically and keeping, somewhat up to date on what's happening in the massive community known as the vinyl community and YouTube in general. And one of the things I picked up on, as many of you have, was the what do they call it? A loss for what it's called, only because I've never done one. It's all kind of new to me. It's a Vinyl Tag 2023. And Rob Walker, Let the Music Play, started this vinyl tag that most of you in the VC will be familiar with. Rob Walker. In fact, I don't know the gentleman myself, although he is often participating in the Peanut Gallery and many of the same streams that I participate in over at Patrick, the Vinyl Archivist, Rachel's Ghosts, among others, I'm sure, and I've watched some of his videos. So last year, I've only been here for about a year, as far as having my own channel. As most of you who have seen my past videos know, I had been a casual observer of YouTube channels, but specifically vinyl, things related to vinyl and music overall. So last year I didn't do this tag. I wasn't even aware of it, to be honest with you. This will be my first one. It's kind of cool. It's almost like my real initiation to the vinyl community, so to speak. Having a vinyl a tag of this type of thing. So anyway, I'm gonna get on with it. He does have a list of Rob has a list of things to include in this vinyl tag, and I've copied the list. So I'm gonna jump right in and start off. I'll try and keep it relatively short, and I'm gonna also mention, before I get too far into this video, the audio quality may differ from some of my prior videos. I had been kind of asleep at the wheel, so to speak. Hadn't prepared for this very well. It's not entirely off the cusp, but a little hasty. I didn't charge up my my wireless microphone and whatnot, so I'm just using a different device. So the audio may not be up to snuff, or at least up to par from my previous videos, some of my other previous videos. So the first thing, let's get into it. The first thing for this vinyl tag is my favorite, my favorite new release of 2022. So I don't buy a whole lot of new vinyl. I'm being relatively new in the vinyl collecting, vinyl purchasing, vinyl listening. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, it's been around my whole life. I'm, of that age where it's kind of come full circle. It went out of vogue for the longest time, and but I always loved the vinyl. Vinyl is my go-to medium. So having said that, I don't purchase a lot of new vinyl. Here and there, periodically, if the price is right, I'll grab it. But really my focus has been trying to establish old stuff I had on either a cassette or a compact disc. And so I have a very modest vinyl collection, but I do want to stick to vinyl to complete this tag. So there will be some artists that maybe, for example, there's one question here, I'm an artist I'm complete on. I don't know of any artist I'm complete on. Well, I do know one. It's here, you'll see, in my vinyl, but they have a pretty small catalog. But I do have complete on compact disc and digital, of course. I have complete artists on lots of digital stuff. But I want to stick to vinyl, and so in the nature of that, that's what I'm going to present. It's going to be all vinyl, with the exception of another question that I'll get to. Those of you who have not seen any of the other vinyl tags, go over to Rob Walker's page and check them out. I think there's a hashtag there, Vinyl Tag 2023. There's a plethora of videos there. I haven't even watched them all myself, but I have been trying to watch some of my favorites and it just looks like a lot of fun. So I just want to be part of that. So here we go. Favorite new release of 2022. To me, this one was easy because I don't purchase a lot, but this is a solid album, and it's by Jack White. This one came out, I think, in the summer of 2022. Fear of the Dawn. He released a couple back to back, but this one, the other one's a little more laid back. But I really like this. I like most of Jack White stuff. Anybody who's seen some of my previous stuff, you know I like all Jack White stuff, whether it's the White Stripes, the Rocketeurs, Dead Weather. Good stuff. So that's my favorite. And this is a subjective thing as well, of course, when it comes to best. It's to each their own personal taste. What I think is best, somebody will differ. That's the nature of anything, right? So that's my favorite release of 2022. Last band or solo artist you saw live. The last band I saw live, and it's quite some time ago, it was the Black Crowes. And of course, this is their Amorica album, third album. But yeah, that would be the last artist I saw live. I don't go to a lot of live shows, to be honest with you, and during the lockdown pandemic, I've not gone to any. In fact, I hadn't gone to any for a long time prior to that, so that's not really a reason for me. I just don't do a lot of live shows. I prefer the smaller, more intimate settings, but even that, they're few and far between. If it's a big arena, with the exception of a few bands that are on my, bucket list, so to speak, that I would go see regardless of where they were playing, but not that many. Next question. Their first album was their best. Again, example of this being subjective. It's my favorite. Whether it's their best, others will, have different opinion, but I think it is. And that's, of course, Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses. To me, by far their best. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2. People will like those. Lies, Lies, Lies. People will like that. That's, primarily covers anyway. And, the Spaghetti Incident, that's covers. What was that other one? I didn't even follow Guns N' Roses after that. It was basically Axl Rose and a gang of guests, right? Guest musicians. Chinese Democracy or something. I don't have that. I've heard it, but for sure that is their best. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, that is their best. A hat trick. A hat trick of album are basically from an artist. The vinyl, the compact disc, the cassette. You get the idea. Hat trick. So the trifecta. So for me, I wanted to go. There's a few I could do because I do have a lot of my old cassettes still here and compact disc. And now that I'm buying vinyl, I do have the trifecta. I could have gone with Rush. I could have gone with Iron Maiden, Metallica, many bands. But I chose to go with this. It's a little more off the beaten path. And it's Temple of the Dog. This was a band, for those who don't know, with Chris Cornell. And essentially, those that were in the grunge scene, a dedication to Andy Wood after he had passed away. So it's a lot of members of the Pearl Jam band and Soundgarden, Matt Cameron. And got the compact disc here. I bought that as soon as it came out. Like I was on board with that almost immediately, as soon as it came out, essentially, like I say. And that's the vinyl. So Temple of the Dog, that's my three. And the next, number 5, album that starts and ends with the same letter. One of my all-time favorites, even back when I was a kid. I probably heard this around the time of its release because I had some older siblings that were into it. And it still holds up for me. It moves the meter every time I play it. It's just a phenomenal album, in my opinion. And starts with D and ends with D, and that's Sweet, Desolation Boulevard. Just such a fantastic album. The whole thing, start to finish. I think it was released, it's kind of a combination of albums, Sweet F.A., or Sweet Fanny Adams over in the UK, and then this came out. This is the North American release, so. But just, if you've not heard it, it's a must listen to anybody that's into the hard rock. I might suggest even those that were into metal in the 80s, 90s, or still to this day, including myself, but to a lesser degree. I've kind of, open to other genres much more than I used to be. But this, give it a listen if you've not heard it. Incredible album. Starts with D, ends with D. Desolation Boulevard. Someone born the same year as I was. Okay, well, this one is Sebastian Bach. I could have shown this as their best in their catalog, but you know, it's just not one of my favorites. But it's good. Could have shown this as potentially one of the ones I was disappointed with too, because it's on this red vinyl, red translucent vinyl, and I don't think it has a great sound to it. But Sebastian Bach, born the same year I was. Most listened to album in 2022, and that's question number 7. And question number 8, they're actually almost one and the same for me. The album differs, but the artist is the same vocalist. So number 7, most listened to album of 2022. This actually came out in 2019, I believe, but I just got this box set in 2022, and I listened to this digitally and on vinyl probably more than anything else. And it is Tool, Fear Inoculum. That is by far the most listened to album of 2022 for me. It's not even close, to be honest with you. I even listen to that more than anything. that's the question, isn't it? And then the most listened to artist is essentially their vocalist, Maynard, right? He's the vocalist for Puscifer here, as well as A Perfect Circle. So when you combine those three acts, Puscifer, A Perfect Circle, and Tool, it's by far the most listened to for 2022 for me. Australian artist band. This is going to be a fairly common one, I'm sure. Like I said, I haven't watched all the videos, but there's no doubt this is going to appear, and it's Men at Work, right? This is their business as usual album. I believe it was this 81? Yeah, 1981. I still remember when this came out. Funny enough, I mean, wow, 40 years ago? 42 years ago. Holy cow. So, time flies. Australian band. Could have gone with probably AC/DC, of course, right? But I didn't. Record people would be surprised you purchased in 2022. This is a direct result of the vinyl community and being on YouTube and watching others' channels and being exposed to music that I would have never even known about or previously wouldn't have known about, and even artists that I had grew up listening to or I was exposed to in the 80s, especially in the hard rock metal scene, now being reintroduced to. It's amazing. I love that about the BC. But one I would have never even known about. I think I heard about them, or at least their offspring. And this is not just because they're from Manchester, Rob, but I was introduced to them through the vinyl community, and that's Joy Division. And yeah, Unknown Pleasures. I think I remember hearing about it or seeing it, and of course in the vinyl community, I decided, and the price was right, so checked it out. Amazing album. I mean, most people who have heard it will know that. And of course, I knew of New Order. They were very huge, and that's kind of the offspring of. Anyway, I won't get into all that. I'm not an encyclopedia of music, just what I know off the top of my head. But yeah, pleasantly surprised. I picked it up and fantastic. I think it's belongs in anybody who's collecting vinyl or no, I shouldn't even put it that way. It's just good music. Music is music. So whatever genre you're into, I don't limit myself to a specific genre anymore. There's too much music out there. Good music. So that would be a record I think most people who know me would be surprised I purchased in 2022. An artist, a band you're complete on. As I alluded to at the start of the video, not that many I'm complete on vinyl, but I could have picked an artist that only had one album, I suppose. One of the other folks in the VC there, Vance over at Zep Pearl, them Crooked Vultures. Be complete on that pretty easy. But I actually don't have that vinyl anyway. But on vinyl, this is one of those bands I was talking about, being reintroduced to. I did have their first on cassette. It was a copied cassette back in the day. And that is Girl. she agreed. This is their debut, and they only did 2 albums, 2 studio albums, I should say. There was some live stuff, and then Wasted Youth was their second one. I still get the $7.95 sticker on there. But yeah, complete on that on vinyl. Pretty simple. But again, another. I've seen a lot of videos about. There's another, I think, thread going around about hair band or hair metal or whatever, and I too do not like that term. It started out as kind of a derogatory term. My buddies and I that were into metal or whatever, and those that were into other stuff would use that term as a derogatory. Hair metal, it's hair metal. But it's kind of a glam rock, and I'm not going to get into too much about those because I was going to do another video on that specific band shortly. I've been meaning to do it for a while. Anyway, without further ado, a great run of 3 albums. This was easy for me. It's as most of you know who have watched me, it's likely my favorite band, although that's sometimes a tough task to nail down a favorite, even to get it down to a top 5 or top 10 for me. There's so many great artists I love, but for me, this is relatively unique for a run of 3, I think. I don't know very many bands that have have gone through this. There are 3 albums, starting with Killers, and then of course I could have used this as starting and ending with the same letter as well. The Number of the Beast. So there already you have 2 different vocalists. Paul Di'Anno on Killers. Their first 2 albums he was their vocalist, and then Bruce comes in for Number of the Beast, and then of course Peace of Mind, where Clive Burr is out and Nicka McBrain is in on drums. So fairly unique 3 album span. I don't know very many bands that replace both vocalists and drummers. Maybe drummers is more common, but to change vocalists and then to really take off as far as international recognition. It's funny, the older I get, or the further away I am from that period, oftentimes the band you're introduced to, or the album you're introduced to an artist with, is often people's favorites or whatnot. To me, I appreciate those first 2 albums much more now than I did previously. I used to be able to say definitively Peace of Mind was probably my favorite. Last 10, 15 years, I'm not so sure I could say that so definitively. I mean, those first 2 are just so good. Anyway, we'll move on to the next one. That's the run of 3 albums. There's a lot of artists I could have done that with. I could have done that with Priest, Metallica, Sabbath. So many. Let's not even, too many to list. 80 soundtracks just show one of your favorites. So I don't have a whole lot on vinyl, and in fact, this is due to Mrs. Twanger's turntable, Jen, who you saw in my previous video. This was part of her collection, and it's the Empire Strikes Back soundtrack to Empire Strikes Back, which is 1980. It actually came out 1980. So yeah, it qualifies as something in the 80s. I don't have very many. I could have shown Raiders of the Lost Ark as well. She has that. We have that. So that's solid. Still holds up. Always, probably always will. But hey, it's subjective as well. We lost them in 2022, and this is kind of a double whammy. But of course, yeah, McCafferty and Agnew from Nazareth, one of my favorites as a child. Just in the same class as that Sweet Desolation Boulevard. This has been in my life essentially since it came out, due to my older siblings, and it's always been right up there for me with the Zeppelins, the Sabbaths, all that stuff. Just classic. But yeah, lost two in Nazareth in last year. Of course, Daryl Sweet had already passed away years before, but yeah. Sadly, just the one remaining. Lost in 2022. Disappointed purchase in 2022. This is another one that could have almost qualified as something people would be surprised I purchased. But I was disappointed in it as well. And it's Juice Newton. Angel of the Morning, the very best of. And the reason I was disappointed, I didn't have a great expectation. And when I say disappointed, I can usually find good attributes to almost anything in music, whether I'm a huge fan or not. I do appreciate it. But I found out that a lot of these, of her original versions of these songs, Angel of the Morning, etc., were re-recorded. They're not the original versions on here, so that's why I was a little disappointed. Still, if you're a fan, I think you would like that album. And it's kind of cool on that pink vinyl. Next up, disappointing purchase, non-vinyl purchase CD, book, etc. Okay, guys, here. I purchased this, and it's specifically for my making my videos here for Twanger's Turntable. It's just a mic that I actually don't use much anymore, because I could have grabbed this too. I just purchased these not long ago. These clip-on little mics. There. Now I feel like it's complete now. I didn't want to leave that one open. So that's something I purchased. That's not a vinyl. You found a grail. I don't know. There's so many grails, especially with me. Like I say, I have a pretty modest collection. There's so many on my want list. But one that I had wanted, I could have used this as their best as well, in my opinion. But I'd wanted this one for so long. There's lots of people that could attest to this, because I've mentioned it in the BC. But the debut from Fastway. So glad to finally have this. I finally got it. And it's like, it's near mint. It's in such good condition. I'm so happy. It's unfortunately not the version with the 7-inch. There was a version that came with a single in it as well, the 45. But wow, I wanted this one for so long. I've had it on cassette and CD, like I mentioned. So that's one I finally got. So happy about that. Space theme album. Okay, well, that's Back to the Egg, McCartney and Wings, I guess it is. Wings, it is Paul McCartney. But Back to the Egg, that's a space theme. They're in a ship there or something, looking down at the Earth. Didn't get any VCLT or presents. Well, I did get a present. Not from VCLT. He's an old buddy of mine, actually. And I used to have a bunch of this stuff in my room as a teenager or whatnot. And I still have some of it left. I should have shown that as well, but that's not really a gift. No, sorry. So this I got from Mike. Shout out to Mike. Good old buddy of mine, lifelong friend. Gave me this. I can't really hang it up. A lot of this stuff I tend to, hope you can hear me, I tend to take it down and put a lot of it away. Just because I don't have a dedicated space, even though it may look like it is. The other half of this room is, you know, for the grandkids and just a family hangout space by the fireplace and whatnot. So a lot of this stuff I can't permanently hang up, so I don't. Thanks again, Mike. I love that. Of course, like I say, one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite. And the final, number 20 question, show an album released in 1973. Well, there's a lot of great albums from 73. And initially, I pulled this one from the boys from Texas, ZZ Top. But if I'm going with a favorite from 73, for me, it's got to be this one. Sabbath is just one of those bands, again, for the music that my go-to genre would have to be something like this. I mean, even with as much as I love ZZ Top and their first few albums, their first album, to me, if I had that on vinyl, would probably be, it's one of the best debuts ever, in my opinion. I mean, that might sound crazy to some people, but I just love that album. But this one from 1973, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, I mean, so good. So good. That era of Sabbath was just hitting their stride. You know, Master Reality, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Sabotage. God, so many great albums there. Not to mention their debut and then Paranoid, right? Maybe those suffer a little more from being overexposed. When I get into some of their other stuff in the catalog, they weren't quite as, you know, overplayed, at least in the circles that I hung with. You know, it was the Sabbath that wasn't always the go-to, but that one from 1973, for me, for sure. And that's it. That covers the vinyl tag, my first vinyl tag. All right. Awesome. So I feel like now I'm an official member of the vinyl community, even if, it's a year later. It's awesome. I love the sharing in the vinyl community and the music that I've, like I say, been reintroduced to or introduced to for the first time. It's great. Stuff like Rob Walker, I know he's very much into that 80s, the New Order, stuff like that. I believe, from what I gather, some of the stuff he's shown, obscure to me, but to each their own. A lot of stuff that I listen to, I think, is very common throughout the hard rock metal community, but I don't know how obscure it is to others. But anyway, I'll leave it at that. This was a lot of fun. I am going to jump on and do another couple of videos I've been hoping to do. When I will post those remains to be seen. I'm not, I can't possibly post videos in succession on a daily basis or whatnot. There are times where I've posted 5-6 videos a week. That is a very rare exception. It's usually one a week or one every couple of weeks, depending on commitments I have elsewhere. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Go over to Rob Walker's channel, check out his channel, subscribe to him. Give a like to this video, subscribe if you haven't already. It's much appreciated. Share and submit your own vinyl tag for 2022. It's a lot of fun. Participate. Good way to get involved in the vinyl community. Easy for me to say. I don't get that involved. That's just my nature, but enjoy doing it. Thanks again, everyone. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll see you next time here on Twanger's Turntable. Ciao.